Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo, and welcome to the Massimo Show. And today we have a power, and I mean power broker, Mr. Matt McGregor from Seattle, Washington. He's affiliated with Colliers International. And yes, Matt was one of the very few, he and his teammate Bill Condon, one of the very few that I highlighted in my last book, Teams Built to Dominate. Hi, this is Rod Santomassimo, and welcome to the Massimo Show. The objective of the Massimo Show is to share how you can maximize your personal, professional margin. That's right. Let's make more money in less time. Let's turn chaos into clarity, confusion into confidence, and income into real wealth. Along with sharing my insight on how I grew a multi-million-dollar professional business, we're going to bring you the expert advice from a variety of authors, consultants, and thought leaders who will provide the tools you need to maximize your own personal and professional margin. Welcome to the Massimo Show. Matt, you dominate. Welcome to the Massimo Show.
Good morning, Rod. Thanks a lot for inviting me on the show. It's an honor to be a part of it. I appreciate it.
Well, I know it's early there on the West Coast. I know you got some travel plans coming up. So, Matt, let's dive right into it. When you were a teenager, tell me, where did you live and what was a passion of yours in your high school years?
That's a great question. I grew up in a suburb of Seattle, Shoreline, Washington, just a few miles north of the city. And I would say my passion was certainly sales. Even before that, I had started working 10 years old. I had a severe condition of dyslexia, so I didn't do well in school at all. So work and sales and communications was always me. I was always into that and got a job at a very young age. So I went to school for the social aspect, Rod, not so much for the educational aspect, and looked forward to going to work, the various jobs that I had from 10 years old on. My first job was, believe it or not, at a stereo place selling stereo equipment in the 80s in a strip mall in Seattle.
That is awesome. So a natural born salesperson. So you went to school more for the social life. You leave school. And so did you assume right away, were you in sales immediately?
Yeah, so I was one of those guys that I failed out of school, but I walked all the way up to the end of school. I just didn't have the credits to graduate. You know, back then in the 80s, they didn't know how to deal with dyslexia. They'd put you in classes that were at a slower pace when in all actuality, they now know that's not what you do. And so I went straight into the work field at a very young age. By the time I was 21, I had found the food industry. I started doing sales and quickly climbed to the ranks to be the top producer in food sales. I worked for a company that imported about 6,000 different cheeses. It was a full line food distributor. And I climbed the ranks and became the top salesperson nationally ranked and climbed to the top of that industry really by the time I was 24, 25 years old. And then I was approached by a company to take on an international position. It was really an embarrassing situation because they said, "Hey, Matt, you are the perfect person for this job. Nobody's sold more of our product than you. You're incredible." And they offered me the job, and it was like 2x what I was making. And I was like, this is a no-brainer. I accepted it. So they flew in their CEO and national sales manager and the team to have a luncheon with me. And during the luncheon, the CEO of the company looks at me and says, "Oh, Matt, where'd you go to school?" And I'm like, "Hey, Sherwood High School." He's like, "No, college." And I, of course, hadn't gone to college. And so he said, and it was this embarrassing, awkward moment where they realized, gosh, we're a Fortune 100 company, and this is a requirement of ours. It was just an embarrassing, terrible situation. I was 25 and I left that meeting. I'm never going to be in this position again. That next day, I went and registered for night school and spent the next 4.5 years working full time, plowing through school, ended up at the University of Washington, going to night school, did that. And then after that, I actually went on to SPU and do an MBA program, and then went back to the UW, got a certificate in commercial real estate, and eventually, even later, went back to Michigan State University for a master's in supply chain. So it's a long-winded answer, but I had a different path when it comes to schooling.
What an incredible story. Let me break that down a little bit. So you had great success in this food industry, a major importer of cheeses, and you rose up to the top in sales. They identified you as a leader and gave you an opportunity for a big promotion. But what was it specifically you would say that, why were you so successful in sales early on? Can you figure out why that was?
I always envisioned myself at a very high level, doing really well in sales. I always envisioned myself in corporate America and being a big entrepreneur. And I think I was struggling with that disconnect of education and not being able to quite get the types of jobs. So at a very young age, I had a great mentor that gave me cassettes, and they were all sorts of sales books. Well, with dyslexia, I count on one hand how many books I had read. So over the course of the next 5 years or so, I probably read the equivalent of 1,000 books going between sales calls. And so I did a ton in sales philosophy and went through, back then it was all the IBM training, and Zig Ziglar and Tom Hopkins and all this stuff. And I would go to their mastery courses, and I really educated myself.
Well, Matt, that is such an amazing story. But also for the listeners, look, those sources of sales and philosophy and structure, they still exist today. You can go read Zig Ziglar, absolutely, Jim Rohn, any other of the legacy salespeople. All those materials, thank goodness, still exist today. In fact, Matt, I had Tom Ziglar, Zig's son, on the podcast a little while back. So all listeners, don't discount old material to help you move forward in your sales. Okay, Matt, even though you're in my book, I didn't know that about you, which is pretty wild. And then I'll tell the audience, I never met Matt. I've never met Matt. And then one day I'm sitting in a mastermind in Toronto, Canada, and this guy walks up and goes, "Hey, are you Ron?" And he goes, "Hey, I'm Matt." I'm like, oh my goodness. So you see this, right. Matt, you still have that thirst for continuing to improve yourself and growing. In fact, I think you told me, don't disclose where, but I think you told me you're leaving this call to jump on a plane, fly to Austin, and attend another mastermind. Is that correct?
Yes. I have always tried, ever since I had that mentor when I was younger that really taught me some tools. Eventually you go, okay, I've learned that person's tools. I always go back to those people, but I always try to challenge myself every couple of years with something new. I go to conferences or I go to organizations like yours, Rod, and I get nuggets, as I always call them. And sometimes the nuggets from somebody in the crowd. Maybe it's not even the instructor, but I get something. If you go to those events and you're hungry for learning, you're going to find something to help you grow your business. Or maybe it's something else. Maybe it's something personal. But I always walk away with some nuggets.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. But let's talk about specifically your team, your partner, and a quick story for the audience, how you met your partner, how you formed this team, because now you've been there for 10 years and you guys are the leaders, not only in the market, but really in a regional, national basis. Tell us how you crafted this team with you and your partner.
Yeah, absolutely. So my partner's Bill Condon. We came into the industry about 15, 16 years ago, about the same time. Bill's about 10 years younger than me. So I had a previous career and he came straight out of college into the industry, but we hit the industry at the same time. And Bill's a super unique person, just an unbelievable connector of people, an unbelievable personality. So even though he didn't have a lot of experience in sales, he kind of hit the ground running and was widely known within his first year as a top guy, and within a couple of short years, a top producer. And I came into the industry with a ton of sales experience, not so much commercial real estate, obviously, but at the same time, we climbed the ranks really quickly. And it seemed within 24 months that every pitch kind of was coming down to me versus Bill. I would say probably our third, fourth year in the business, he started recruiting me. I started recruiting him. We had this mutual respect for each other. And we knew how powerful that team would be together. Different personality types, but had a similar work ethic, which I think is extremely important when evaluating a partner. So several things had happened. Business developed in different ways. And I decided, gosh, I just can't get the thought of joining this guy and building something with him out of my mind. So believe it or not, I went to the person that I trust most in the world, which is my wife, Laura. And I said, you got to go interview this guy. I got to know what you think. So I set up this interview and my wife comes back and said, this guy's unbelievable. You guys would be perfect together. You got to find a way to work together. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And so I was kind of hoping maybe she didn't say that so I could put it behind me and keep plowing on. But I went to him right away. We formulated a plan and we joined forces. And when you go into these relationships, your income sharing, your directional sharing, quite often you spend more time with that business partner than sometimes you spend with your spouse. So you better know that person really well. So we formed that partnership. And then through the years, every year we really sit down, we map out our plans, make sure that we're in alignment with our strategies and our objectives. And obviously those change over time. But Bill and I do a great job of making sure that we're on the same page.
You leverage your spouse. In fact, your spouse, Laura, my spouse, is Lana, and I do not hire or align myself with anyone until they meet Lana. Let's face it, our wives just have a better radar than we do.
No doubt about it.
It is what it is.
No doubt about it.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with Matt McGregor. We're going to break down to what his business is, what he focuses on. He's going to give us the keys to his success. We're going to do a quick 5 factors of success with Matt and learn more when we get right back here with the Massimo Show. So just hold on. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. In the field of commercial real estate, but also in the field of life, he's learned a lot of lessons I can share with you all. We're going to get right to it. Matt, welcome back to the Massimo Show. Look, what are you focused on specifically? You and Bill now create this team. You're market dominators. What are you focused on? What services do you provide?
So we're focused on industrial real estate and really kind of 3 baskets within that. 1, represent institutional landlords, typically on Class A type product. And then 2, we're market leaders in capital markets, so the dispositions and acquisitions of those industrial assets. And then 3, I would say a little bit more of the complicated one, is we represent typically larger platform type tenants, both locally, nationally, as well as internationally. So we have a handful of clients that we've represented for a long time on a portfolio basis. So that would mean everything from real estate strategy to local and state incentives negotiations, obviously to the real estate negotiations, but really acting as those companies' outsourced real estate department. And then we have a local segment of business that I would call more of our historical tenants that we've worked with for years or that have developed over the years that are in our local market that help keep our product filled. And so those are the 3 baskets under the industrial umbrella that we play in.
Okay, so everyone has a big break, right? So what was your big break within the Bill Condon and Matt McGregor team? What was the big break for the team that really expedited, accelerated your success and or growth?
Yeah, I would say we've had obviously a few. You got to put yourself out there in order to find those breaks. I would say my first big break was being on the right team. Early on in my career with Trammell Crow, I was around people that really understood real estate at a very high level. And so when I would go get the appointments, which was my job, I would bring in experts. And so I think the first break was absolutely being on a team of people that are very sophisticated and willing to teach you. And of course, the benefit for them was getting queued up on some business that I was good at. I would say the biggest break early on was a client in the downturn that happened to be a cold call of an independent billionaire. And really, I learned capital markets through the downturn when a lot of people were not doing deals, and I happened to have the right client doing deals and acquiring a ton of product when not a lot of the people were. So we were running around underwriting this stuff that was distressed, figuring out ways to make money on it. And that was a huge break because I had record years during the downturn because of a specific client that helped teach me that. And then I was able to parlay that into other clients because of that expertise kind of rolling out of the downturn.
So, Matt, great story. And I truly believe that downturns are great periods of opportunity for everyone if you find the niche that needs to be filled. Matt found a niche that needed to be filled, an individual, yes, a wealthy individual who want to take advantage of the lower values in real estate. When I created the Massimo Group, that was in 2008. Again, no one had money really to invest themselves, but we found that people needed help and assistance to find their way through that period of time. So what can you do during a downturn? What can you do to differentiate? Okay, Matt, we're going to ask some crazy questions, and then we're going to get to the 5 factors of success. Are you ready for the crazy questions?
I'm ready. Shoot.
Favorite color?
Green.
First car you ever bought yourself?
77 Monte Carlo with swivel buckets and a hurt shift kit.
I love it. What color was it?
Badass, Rod.
No, what color was it?
It was white with white leather interior and a diamond tuck dash.
That would beat my answer by far. So that's awesome. What's your favorite thing to do beyond your family and commercial real estate?
I would say coaching youth sports. 12, 13 years ago when my son was like 6, I told my wife, hey, You got to get Lachlan into some sports, basketball season. Go sign him up for a team. He's like, okay, how do I do that? Where do I go? And I'm like, oh, there's this organization down the street, Snow King, Rec Basketball. You go down there and just put him on a team. Let's go. And he's going to love it. And that's that. So a couple of weeks goes by and I'd forgotten about it and didn't hear about it. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's basketball season. Did Laura do anything? And I came home, hey, Laura, did you sign Lachlan up for basketball? And she said, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. I did. Great news is there was room on the team. Bad news is they didn't have a coach, so I signed you up. And I'm like, what? And Ron, I got to tell you, I played basketball, but I had never coached. That was terrifying to me, actually. And I was like, I don't know how to teach a bunch of 6-year-old boys basketball. Well, fast forward over the next, say, 12 years or so, I had coached 27 seasons of youth sports and fell in love with it. And coaching my kids' teams, the benefit from a father perspective is hey, we're out working, we're doing that thing. And quite often we're not the ones hanging out at school and we don't know the friends and the friends don't know us. Well, gosh, after so many years of coaching youth sports, go to school and all the kids are like, Coach McGregor, you're popular and you know your kids' friends. You know their parents and you know which ones to avoid. That's a favorite activity of mine.
Oh, that is awesome. 5 success factors in 5 minutes. The clock's going to start now. And I'm going to keep you on time. I'm going to keep you on track of the question. Number 1, prospecting. Don't tell me about Twitter or networking sessions. I want pure prospecting habits. Phone calls.
Yes, our team meets every single week. We're all supposed to make a certain number of calls. Mine happens to be 35 calls a week, and we actually have a very simple tally system, and we put it in the middle of the table and discuss the calls and success ratio related with appointments made within a 1-week time span.
Love it. And by the way, is that 35 attempts or 35 conversations, Matt?
35 conversations, 35 connections.
Okay. And that can take you how many calls a week range? How many can that take you?
For me, I would say that's normally around 80 to 100 a week.
Perfect. Great response. Question number 2, marketing, presence, team presence, personal, physical, digital. What do you all do to get out there and get known?
We host a podcast, industrialadvisors.com. We host a series of those. We typically record 4 a month, and I'm a member of several organizations, 4 of them that I go to all of their conference, and then, of course, promote our podcast and material at those conferences that are obviously geared toward tenant rep type business.
Okay. Social media, do you all use it?
Well, I would definitely say yes on social media. It's mainly via our podcast that then feeds our website. LinkedIn's our big one for promotion of our podcast, but we don't use anything like Facebook or Instagram.
You're doing great, man. Partners. By partners, I mean your team. I know it's you and Bethany and Bill, but is there anyone else?
Yeah, absolutely. So Bethany's kind of the team manager and takes care of our larger accounts. So obviously there's lease tracking software and things like that. So she's kind of organizing everything, saying, hey, got to take care of this, got to take care of that. Here's when the leases expire and all of that, overall managing the team. And then Sydney is really in charge of marketing. So she's creating all of our flyers. She's helping prepare the podcast topics, research, things like that. And then she's doing a lot of the proposals. And then we've got Bob Santucci, who's a broker, who's been with us about 5.5 years. And Bob is a wonderful, I would call him a senior level broker now that is on a ton of listings with us, as well as doing tenant rep assignments. And then we've got Jack Murphy, who is a wonderful young cold caller. He's been with us about a year.
Let's go with platform. Yep. Give me your tools you use for yourself, your team, CRMs, whatever platform. Go.
Yeah, so I use Apto for CRM contacts. I mean, that's really everything. That's our data dump. And then we use Real Capital Markets for disposition assignments. Those are our 2 major platforms that we use.
Okay. And I'm assuming everyone then is integrated on your team within the Apto platform?
Yeah, 100% full access to all team members.
Okay, perfect. Hey, you're doing great. 4 minutes. That was great, Matt. We got one more. And that is your day, productivity. What time do you wake up? Take us through your day.
Yeah, so I like to get in early. I'm very efficient in the way I process things. So I get up typically at about 5, and I don't work out in the morning because I made the choice long ago that if I hang around, I'm going to see the kids for 20 minutes or something, but it'll take me 3 hours to do that, and then I'm sitting in traffic. So If I leave at 5:20 in the morning, it takes me about 20 minutes to get ready. The work commute's about 18 minutes versus if I did it a couple hours later, it's an hour. And so I get to work about 5:45-ish. Immediately, I organize my day and make sure my inbox clear, because what I call 8 a.m. is prime time. So that's client time, that's live. If I have East Coast calls, I usually start those about 7. I typically start the day with a reading, some sort of industry reading in the first 30 minutes just to keep knowledgeable. And then by 7 a.m., I'm on the calls and I'm in deal mode. 8 a.m. is what I call prime time because everybody's in. So that first couple hours, I get more done, I think, than the rest of the day because I'm alone in the office. And certain days, they're business development days, what I call focus days. Certain days that are buffer days, which are preparing me for those focus days. And then, of course, I've got free days. And when I do take a free day, it's 100% free day. I try not to work at all.
And what time do you leave the office? What time do you go to bed?
So I leave the office typically at about 4 o'clock, and I work out on the weekdays. I typically work out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then, of course, on the weekends. And then, obviously, dinner time with the kids. They're heavily involved in sports. I got a teenage son and teenage daughter, so typically I'm running around seeing their events in the evenings. And then I would say my normal bedtime is 10:30.
Okay. That was 5 factors of success in 5 minutes. Yes, we went over, but the information was so good, I let him go. Matthew McGregor, thank you so much for your valuable time. Good luck on your trip. Any parting shots for the listeners on the Massimo Show?
I appreciate your show, Rod. You do a great job. I wish everybody well in 2020.
Okay, my friend, all my best to you and to everyone else. You know what I'm going to say? Knowing isn't doing. So go out, learn, take what you learned today from Matthew and apply it and watch your business grow. Until next time, this is Rod Santomassimo with The Massimo Show. I want to thank you for listening to this version of The Massimo Show. And please go out and share this with your friends, your colleagues. Heck, share it with your dog. Just share it. And more importantly, just give me some feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. We all grow from understanding what our audience wants to hear. So until next time, this is Rod Santomassimo with The Massimo Show. Hi, this is Rod Santomassimo, president and founder of the Massimo Group. And did you know that for over the past 11 plus years, we've worked with thousands of independent contractors, solopreneurs, and small business owners just like you in repositioning their and or their team's efforts so they can build the personal, professional practice they've always dreamed of. We provide coaching programs for all levels of experience, earnings, and yes, success. So if you're finally ready to get off that transaction treadmill and tracing deals that are growing nowhere and start building the personal, professional business and life consisting of greater wealth and more time, well, check us out at Massimo.coach. That's Massimo.coach.